All right, guys, how you doing today? I started this a little bit late. I started tearing into something that I didn't even anticipate tearing into, and I didn't film it. So I'm going to pick up where I left off, which is probably going to be more hard than where I initially was. But since I had it all torn apart and since the interior is out, I took out the heat exchanger for the heater, just because I thought it hadn't leaked on me ever. But as much as I've got this thing tore apart already, I thought, you know what, let's get it up, let's get it out. And it's a trick, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. You would think that it would be easier to do this, but they didn't make it easy. You got to tear apart half the underdash and wires, cables. Let's just hope I can put it all back together, because I started it yesterday. Ordered a heat exchanger, but this is the one that came out, and you can see, thank God I did go ahead and do it, because it apparently was leaking and I just didn't know it. It leaked from both sides. But this looks to be the original one. You can tell how nice quality that is, or was. And then this is the one I just ordered that came in today. And so I'm going to go ahead and start figuring out how to put this thing together, because all these little bolts and screws were coming out. And you know what? I know I should have taken a picture. I should have, heck, if I videoed it, I could have gone back and video and look at it, but I didn't. And so now I'm going to go off of my CRS memory. For those of you who don't know what CRS stands for, it stands for can't remember. Yeah, I'll let you figure out what the S means. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting this together. And since you're here, you can kind of see what I've got going on here. So initially, I took it apart and I cleaned it too. And I did it, when I took this off, I did it a little bit, a little backwards. I was taking bolts out that I shouldn't have taken out, because there's 4 bolts, one there, one here, one here, that holds this through a bracket, through the heat exchanger through a bracket. But before I even took this out, I was disconnecting bolts. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to put it back together the way I should have taken it apart. I'm going to do it in reverse order, but not necessarily how I had it in reverse order. So I got to make sure you guys are in frame. Yeah, I guess you'll be good. All right, so I slipped the heat exchanger in this. And then there's these 2 brackets. And what I did was cleaned them up and sprayed, what do you call it, rust reformer on it, just because it had a little bit of rust. But I gotta figure out how to slide this on, because maybe it's this way. I got it backwards. I'm just gonna do it to line up the bolts. Yeah, there we go. And then I gotta remember which bolts I had. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. All right, so I believe it's these bolts that I have. Let me just make sure that there's no other bolts sitting back there that I'm supposed to be going after. Okay, that one's that. No, it's not those. Doesn't appear to be those. I tell you, I should have really, you can hear I don't know if you can hear the wind picking up. We got a storm coming in, so this goes in here, and then it's going to tie into that bracket. And so let me just see if I can somehow finagle this to work. For anybody that knows what a Kim's game is, Kim's game is something we used to do occasionally when I was in the military, and you basically lay out a bunch of things, and you've got X amount of time, whether it's a minute or whatever, to look at it and try to remember every single thing that you can think of that's laying out on a blanket, on the floor, or what have you. and then they take the blanket and they cover it up, and then you have to list off everything that you've seen. It's basically a memory game. That's what I feel like I'm doing right now, because I don't know if I'm going to remember it, but it's going to be a process of elimination. I'm going to do little by little, and as the parts start to decrease, what's left over typically is going to be what I have to work with, and so I'll tighten that down a little bit. So I did the front one right there. Now this back one, same thing. You put it in like this, and then what do we got going on? I might have to loosen the front up a little bit because I pinched it too tight, and too tight, it didn't allow me to slide and give me the wiggle room. The wiggle room I need. I tell you, this, whoever designed this, hopefully they don't have a job doing this anymore, because it really is not the most ideal way to. I mean, my Ford Bronco, and that's an '87, so maybe they've progressed over the years. But my little Bronco, I just replaced that, this heater core in it not too long ago. And guess what? It's pretty easy. Pretty easy. You don't have to take apart half the car. This thing, or anybody that works on these second-gen F-body cars, you know, it's a pain in the boot feet. So, see if I can get it. I don't know if I can get it. Let me see. I'm never sure if you're in focus or not half the time. Maybe because I'm. Oops. There we go. Come on now. There we go. You're wondering why I've got such a long extension. It's because when you're putting that box in, or well, for me, in my case, I was taking it out. Some of the bolts are way back there. And if you don't have something long, it can make it for an even harder day. All right. Geez, I hope I'm using the right bolt. Screws in. I think so. I think so. Oh boy, what did I do? Okay, that goes there. So put this in here. Oh shoot. Son of a gun. There we go. Got that one started. There we go. There we go. Now we're cooking with gasoline. And this one, what we got going on here? I don't know if it's cross-threading or if I'm just coming at, yeah, maybe. Cross threads are good threads, right? Little spring door opening. There we go. So we'll get this on, and then we'll move on to the next piece, which is, for me, it's going to be like a jigsaw puzzle, because I'm not sure what I got going on here, to be quite honest. All right, that. Just can't let this thing fall off my lap, because if it falls off my lap, I might be just putting some damaged stuff back on. All right, there we go. All right, so we have that in. And I don't know why, but for some reason, this broke. Well, no, I do know why. But I don't know why it's not fixed because I super glued it. All right, so I got that in. Now it's a matter of sliding that back in. And I picked up some foam sealant to go around the edges so that it seals up properly. And I can replace it. I've just got to make sure I'm doing it on the right area. What's that? Yeah, that one probably get me a little stint of this in there. So in here, let's see. This is part I can't pull this piece out just because there's cables and wires and it's just a pain in the butt. All for a freaking. But in here, there's a sealer. It's already falling apart. So I just peel that right off with my finger. It comes off, and then I will put the new one on that I bought. And boy, that wind is howling. It's got something to say today. All right, let me put that thing on, and I'll get back with you. All right, I had that gasket put in, and I slipped this in, so it just slipped in, and now I'm putting these bolts. Into place. There's 1, 2, 3 on the driver's side, and there's 1 over here, I believe, on the driver. Yeah. What do we got going on here? Oh, you know what I was supposed to do? I'll take that back out. But there's one of the bolts here that hold the. You got to be kidding me, because that's gonna be a pain in the butt. That's the grounding, one of the grounding straps. And those little brackets that are inside that we just put on earlier, they're kind of finicky, because if you're just out of whack a little bit, you're probably seeing my arm more than anything. So let me try to get. Come on now. There we go. All right, got that. And we got one more. That's right here. So, I tell you, you gotta love old cars, but what a pain in the butt. So, these little bolts that hold that whole bracket in, what is that I'm using? 1/4 inch. It's a 1/4 inch. It's a 1/4 inch socket for the one here that's in between the 2 pipes, and then there's 3 over here, and that's what holds the plastic piece with the little vent that we just put in. I'll just tighten that down. You don't have to go too tight, because this is just all plastic, and they're not even you know what's going to be fun? This is going to be the fun part. And I say this with total sarcasm and heart. Is sliding all this crap back up in there. See that? All that. It extends all the way over there. Got cables, wires. And most of them I didn't disconnect. On this side I did disconnect. So yeah, not going to be fun. Where did this go? Please tell me it wasn't on the other side. Oh, it's on this side, right? Yeah, it's on this side. All right, so this is where I got to put the new. Once I get all that down, you can't even really rotate it too much without screwing anything up, because it's catching on the transmission tunnel. Man, what a show. What a shit show. Alright. Gotta clean that up. Apparently I missed the spots. Okay. Man, every time I look at this, I just kind of wonder what the hell they were thinking when they built it. I'm sure somebody will tell me what they were thinking, but I don't know. Okay. So this got to go like this. Yeah, and this gets adjusted somehow, but what I did was, well, what I did was not what I was supposed to do. It gets adjusted, but I put these, look at this. It did me no good. I put little white marks when I was like, when I unscrewed it, I just want to know where it was at. But guess what? It doesn't, because you can clock this thing. You can clock it. But it doesn't matter because it moves with it. So I would have been out of clock anyway. But what I'm going to do is when you take this off, you see the dirty pattern that's there? That's what I'm going to go with, following that dirty pattern, and that will set it up to be right where it's supposed to be, or where it was. And I got these. Hey, I'm actually doing pretty good right now because I'm whittling down these little screws and bolts, and the less bolts and screws you have, the better off you are, because there ain't too many places you can do. I ain't out of the woods yet, by no means. Is this is not. You had to take that all off because in order. See, this is you had to take it off because that is connected to this flapper, and without taking that bracketry off, you're not going to be able to slide this out that has the heater cord behind it. So we'll just. I don't know. Did we move? Hold on, did we move? There we go, right there. Oh, shoot. I tell you, this sucker. There we go. That'll work right there. I'm using a 1/4 inch. Well, what's that? It's still 1/4 inch socket and 1/4 inch drive. Tighten it a little bit. Tighten it a little bit. Tighten it a little bit. So we have that back in. See it? Now on under here. Let's see. Where are we at? Well, maybe you can see it through this. There's this cable right here, and that's the cable right here that you slide. Well, it has a bracket that goes right here, and so you bolt that on here, and then that little, this piece right here, I can't turn it, but you can see it's got like a spring. Okay, I can see that it's got like a spring hole on it. Let's see if I can turn it. So it's not cooperating real well with me. But that slides over. Yep. What a pain. What a pain. So I'm almost to the point of putting it in, but what I want to do first is, I don't know if I should use this whole, it's all kind of dry rotted, but it's holding shape. I'm just afraid I start monkeying with mine, it'll start flopping off. Well, I bought it. I need to get some scissors. All right, hold on. All right, it's the next day. My dad came over and I pretty much stopped filming. I got the whole heater core back in, and coming around on this side, this one broke off when I twisted it off to get it out initially. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that right now. I've got that, but what I've done is I took this, basically the AC delete box, and I threw some primer on it, and then I threw some paint on it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this over that. One of the things I'm going to do after it's already on is, I guess I need to put a resistor for the fans somewhere in here. One of these, I think it's a 3-prong. I'll have to figure that out. I ain't worried about it right now, but one of these are probably on it. Go to it. Might be that. It might be this one or this one. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out later. I ain't worried about it right now, that part of it right now. But I've got that. I bought some self-tapping screws with a, let's see what we got going on here. This one's got a seal on it. This self-tapper's got a seal. So when I put it in, it'll have this little seal. And I've already pre-drilled out the holes that I wanted to on each one of the tabs, all the way around it. And as well, I know normally it comes with like a glue, like a silly putty type glue, but I bought this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on the back of that, and then put it up against the firewall. And if I have to go over it with some kind of silly putty glue or whatever, it's not even glue, it's like a sealant, silly putty sealant, I'll do that. So as well, and when I'm done with that, I'm gonna start doing a lot of little things in the video and not just one specific, because I'm getting to that point where I'm just gonna be moving. I put the hinges loosely on there on that door. So once this is, and there's a reason I did this heater box, because I wanted to get it out of the way before I put the door on, because once you get the door on, then you're fighting with the door hanging up underneath there. So that is done. The heater box. I get this front AC delete box, then I can put the door on, get it initially leveled and kind of gapped with the back. Then I can put the front fender on, get it gapped, figure out what kind of shims I'm going to need. And then once I get the shims all done, like I said before, I'll kind of package it up, label it, and that way when I tear it apart, paint each individual fender door, I won't be messing up my stuff when I go back into it. But look what else came. So I'll show you that one later. That showed up at the door. What the funny thing is, I was sitting in my Bronco out front. The Bronco, I was sitting in front of my Ram. I was sitting in the Bronco messing with the CB I installed in there. Didn't even see the delivery guy go right in front of me and drop it off. I was so focused on that CD and trying to get the frequencies. I had a handheld, I was trying to match frequencies, but I didn't even see the guy. And so I get out of the Bronco, the guy had already delivered and left. And then I go up towards the house and I run into this box. And I was like, what the heck is this? I just came out of the house like 10 minutes ahead of that. And the freaking box is sitting there. And at first I thought, is my wife ordered something? And then I think, what did I order? I couldn't remember what I ordered. And I'll let you guys know later on, but I was quite pleasantly surprised that I got that. But okay, let me go back to putting this on. And like I said, I'm gonna put the sealant on, put it up there, and then self-tap the screws into these holes, and that way I can get that going. All right, guys. All right, I'm going to put my door on, or at least attempt to. I put these hinges on, put them on loosely. Then, not sure how well this is going to work out, but I put cardboard down here to kind of help me with gap, and so it's just not resting on that, the initial gap at least, until I can get all these bolts in. What the hell? I'm not sure if I got this on right. It's sprung. So what's happening is, I think on the other door, I think what I did was put the striker in there just to hold it up initially. This side doesn't have a striker. Okay, temporarily. I'll put that back in. B, got a B in here. So I'm thinking, I'm hoping that the front spring is on right. The only thing I really need to do is probably bend it or spring it into position, if you know what I mean. I wear these gloves on the inside of this door. This door will cut you a little bit, especially when you're lifting it up. These old F-body 14-foot long 3,000-pound doors. Here's where I'm gonna, probably good I got long arms and legs. I'm not going to try to cinch these up. All right. Where are we at? Okay. So, all the bolts are going to be loose. The hinge on the door, the hinge on the car. And that will allow adjustment. As long as I don't go too tight. Well, where do we get going? Here we go. So, you can see I'm low. I'm low. So it's going to need to come up. I think last time what I did is I put a jack with a 2x4 on here and lifted it up. And that's what I'm going to do again. Because 3 arms, be better if you had a partner, but I don't have a partner, so it's me. And I'll put this board right here. And then, see, where are we at with the forward back for the Gap? Yeah, it's gonna have to. See, the door's gonna have to. Door's gonna have to roll in, come up. So let's do the come up first, and then I'll do the roll in. The roll in is going to be the part of the hinge that is attached to the door, and then the come up is going to be, and the come up and the slide forward is going to be the part that goes onto the car. So let me just jack it up and give it a little love. Oh, you know what? This is what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that's not going to work by itself because my 1.5 ton jack is not tall enough. So I got to go down. Yeah, sorry for moving you around here like that, but sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's like that. So I'm just eyeballing it for right now. Nothing, just gonna eyeball it for right now. And then I'll be able to close it and make further adjustments. All right, now let's see what happens. I think last time too I had to go higher than what it actually, yeah, there you go. See, the door just based on the weight. And then because I don't have the glass in it too, probably should go up a little bit higher. The other side had the glass in it, I think, at the time. Oh, nope, see? We're too low because it just freaking, it's hitting. Yep, I knew that. I knew it and still did it. Like a Ringling Brothers circus over here. You tell that the weather's gotten better. So I got my garage door open, but I only got one of them open because the wind's blowing and we're gonna have a, I guess, a pretty good storm tomorrow. Tomorrow. Probably Dericho-like winds. They said we could get hail up to hen egg size, I guess. Or basically an egg. We'll see. Sometimes they say it and it doesn't happen, but I get it. They want to make sure everybody's best prepared. All right. Now, I'm gonna have to jack this up. I think I'm gonna go, like I was saying. Go right there. And then let's just see what it does. You know what I should do? I should probably put tape on the door and the back quarter because trying to eyeball it is just that, eyeballing it. I'm still going to be eyeballing it, but at least now. Yeah, there's that one. And then there's this one. There. There's that one. So I'm going to tighten down 2 of the bolts on each of the hinges instead of all 3 of them. I'm gonna go down nice and easy, see where we're at. Still too low. Still too low, and we're too far back. Actually, you know what? Where's that going on here? All right, so. All right, let me just mess with this a while, because otherwise I'll have you here all day. All right, I think I got it. Or at least I got it as close as I can now, unless I adjust the, or take off the hinges and drill them out. Now, I can't remember how big or tight the gap was, and plus you got to remember that quarter panel's new, and I believe this door is not the door that came on this car, but it might have been a reskin door. I just can't remember if my dad and I did it back 30 some years ago. So with those 2 variables, I made marks on it. It kind of was a pain in the butt, but you know what? You just kind of teeter it back. I used that jack to keep the dead weight, and when you're doing it, you can't keep the weight exactly, or you can't keep the level exactly where you want it. You have to go above it. So when it settles, it comes down, and then it doesn't have glass in it, so it's going to settle a little bit more, but that's how close the gap is right now. So it's tight, a little tight right in here. But that, I could probably get a spoon or something and freaking pound that in a little bit. But that gap's pretty good. This gap, and then this might have to come out a little bit up here. But it's flush for the most part, and then down along the rocker panel, it looks good. And remember, once the glass gets in, it's going to probably come down a little bit, which is why there's just the ever so slightly, but I think it's there. I think I'm not going to have to mess with it too much more, I don't believe. But now I've got that on, so what that will allow me to do is put the fender back on and then align it properly so it gets gapped with the shims that I need. I've got the shims. I got them several months ago, probably last year, the end of last year. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. That door was no fun. Again, remember I was saying the door hinges were completely off, so these hinges right here, or these bolts here, determine the frontward and backwards. Now I'm as far forward as I can be. I even put a marker there just to kind of give me a line indicator, because it was a little bit further, so I knew where I had to get to. But it won't go any farther forward unless I notch out these holes in the hinges. I don't know why I keep struggling with that word, hinges, but it won't go forward without those. And then these bolts that go onto the door, that will be able to adjust it this way. So this one goes this way, and then this way, and then this one's doing it this way. So there's several different axes on this door that you got to kind of line up. But right now, I believe it's pretty good. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. The door's not all the way shut, but because there's no striker in it right now. I took the striker out just so that when I'm hanging the door, I'm not relying on the striker to get me level. I want the striker just to be, so it'd be nice and easy. And then, yeah. So she's starting to come together little by little. Got that door, and then the back. Of course, this side, that door is ajar. What's happening is I don't know why it doesn't do it on that side, but on this side, the That pops it open. The light switch pops it open. Yeah. So now I'm going to head on to the fender. All right, so I thought I had the door leveled off, but I need to take the door back off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to oblong these holes so I can slide it forward more. The reason why is that's as far forward as I can get right there. And this gap is just too tight. I already marked off here to here where I could kind of pound that in a little bit to make that gap even, but the whole gap is just too tight. You couldn't fit a half a painter stick in there. And when I put the fender on, the fender probably had a gap, probably a good ½ inch gap, I would imagine. So I think when I slide this door forward, it will take up some of that gap, and then I'll be dealing with a smaller gap. As well, when I had this fender on, this fender wasn't fitting quite right. It was bowing out, and so I had to pound it a little bit here, and I haven't put it back on yet, but I pounded it here to give it some more space. Right here, which is up near the door, I had to pound that down because what it was doing was hitting this thing right here, and it wasn't allowing it to go down. So yeah, I'm just kind of manipulating this metal a little bit. But now that I've got this fender back off, I'm done pounding it. I'll set it over here, then take the door back off. What a pain in the butt. Take the door back off, and then oblong those holes, and I'll put it back on, and it should give me enough room to slide it forward a little bit. So I was fighting with two gaps, fighting that gap and then fighting the fender gap. And then at first I thought I'd be all right with that tighter of a gap, but with the gap I've got up towards front, there's no way I'm going to be able to take up the slack from the fender back. I need to meet partial way. So if I can come up an 1/8 inch, that would probably be pretty ideal. Then I could come back with the fender maybe an 1/8 inch, and then I'll have me maybe an 1/8 or so, 1/4 inch freaking gap. We'll see. Looking at it right now, it looks like I can make up that gap different. I should have took a video of the gap I had. And when it was on, aside from the gap that I had, the fender was bowing out up here, and then it came down here, and then it kind of was flush and bowing out. So my assumption is when I tried to push it in, and these weren't even touching these tabs, it was hitting on this, and it was hitting somewhere else. But like I said, I think I've manipulated the metal enough with the marks that I made. I think I manipulated this metal enough to give me that little bit of leeway in room. I even hit this here, kind of bent that in a little bit so it would give it more the ability to kind of pull back. I can't go too far back though, because it has to be equal with this one. Otherwise, when the hood gets on, it'll be all cattywampus. So I measured it out, and with my where's the measuring tape? Yeah, there it is. I measured it out. So we're really working with fractions of an inch, and you know, to even get close. And then I kept coming over here to this side just to see what this gap looked like, and that's let's see where we at. That's what that gap looks like. It's and same way with here. The door keeps springing open, so but the gap over here looks to be fine for me. I just need to get this gap dialed in. Freaking what a mess. The doing it by yourself, I mean, to everybody that does it by themselves, it takes a little bit of patience and probably a lot more know-how than what I've done, because I've only done this like once. But you're really working with all these different angles between the hinges, rolling all the axes, and meanwhile you're trying to hold the weight of the door up, slide it in, tighten it down before it sags. So, but with the help of a jack, some wood, and just hoping that it hangs in there, we're getting there. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'll set that fender aside. I'll pull the door back off, notch those holes so it'll allow me to slide forward some, because it's as far forward as the so behind the body, there's that floating nut. It's a 3-piece. Well, they're all tied together, but they float. It's as far forward as it can go, so it's not going to allow it to move the door forward anymore. All right, so this fender door has been off more times than I want to even admit, but I think I'm going to stick with this gap for right now on the back. It looks pretty good. It's a little tighter than what I wanted, but everything's lined up on the rocker panel. Closes level, it's leveled off. The front though, this repop fender is kicking my butt, and I've got it adjusted to where and then it gets wider and wider, which kind of tells me the fender is going up. Now, initially what I had to do is take the fender off, and there's ribs in the back of the fender, little brace ribs, and I had to trim them off just so that the fender could even get in to come flush with the door, because it was sticking out. It was sticking out like, I don't know if you can see that, but it was sticking out even worse. I got it to become flush because the ribs were a little thick and it was bouncing up against the inside of the body. But now, what it appears to be doing is it's canted up just ever so slightly, maybe an 1/8 inch. It's canted up, which tells me if the fender was to come down, it would pivot down, and then that narrow gap that slowly gets wider will close in on itself. So I looked around and tried to figure out. I measured. Remember I replaced the body bushings, so I thought, well, maybe that was it. But I measured side to side, did this side. They're good. What it is let me get the tape measure. This is what I believe it is. So when you're looking at, that's just over 1.5 inches. So it's probably 1 5/8 probably. And then this one is just at 1.5 inches. So what I think is, you can almost see it. I mean, I don't know about this, but in person, you can almost see that that's taller than here. But it might be a little bit deceptive on camera. So this is not allowing the front to come down that little bit of 1/8 inch that I need, that will pivot the whole fender down. So I've got one of two options. I take this fender off and try to pound this down or rebend it down, or I cut it off and then weld it back on ever so slightly, 1/8 inch down, and that would give me the articulation that it needs to get back here and pivot. Because I've been fighting this thing, and it's to get it. I gotta push on this part right here. I gotta push on this really hard to even get it to come close. And when I do, it's just sprung, and that's not good. So I don't want it sprung. So I need to figure out how to, and on top of that, besides being sprung, I want my body lines to be you know, even this way you probably wouldn't know, but if you backed up, you probably see it kind of canted up a little bit more. But I want everything to be flush. So I'm gonna end up taking the fender off again and figuring out what I'm gonna do with this. Whether it's, maybe I'll make a mark, cut it off, weld it up, but I gotta do something because it's not working. All right, guys, let me take this fender off and get right back with you. All right, I cut it off. I'm gonna go over here and show you what I did too. I had been marking it earlier when I was trying to adjust it, but this was the rib I was talking about. This whole rib, I probably took a good 1/4 inch off of it all the way along. It was banging into the, and it was showing marks. Then I cleaned this up a little bit too, and then I had to divot this. So anyway, I'm getting ready to weld it. I already cut that off, and with just the width of the cutting wheel, if I set this back down on it and butt it up, just about 1.5 inches where I'm supposed to be. So right there, there's 1 inch in. So just the cutting wheel, getting in there and catching out some of that stuff, and then I can tack that and then weld this piece up. So let me get the welder all set up, and normally I have leather boots on just because these tennis shoes will get burned through, but I didn't anticipate welding, and I don't feel like going back in to change my shoes. So if you see me hopping around a little bit, it's probably because I got some slag or something down in my knitted tennis shoe. Maybe I'll just put my feet underneath this freaking welding blanket. Ain't a bad idea. Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? All right, let's see if we can tack this thing on. Keep it straight. Keep it straight and keep it at the right. So it's got to be 2 different ways, probably 3, but I gotta hold it level, and then I gotta hold it at the right distance away from where it's supposed to be. So let me get that. Let's see. Hopefully, come on now. All right, that looks good. That looks good. Nice. All right, let me tack this side. Right there. Nope. I was trying to arc on some paint. That won't work. Oops. All right. So now, let me see what we got. Use the old tape of measure. Perfect. Yep. That works out perfect. Nice. Now I just got to run a bead down there. I'll do some short beads. You know what I need? I need my light. Put some light on the situation. Come to my feet. You know what I just realized is my goggles are what's freaking dirty. Where's that line at? Okay. Trying to get light on it without blocking my view. That doesn't seem to be. Maybe that'll be it right there. All right. Don't want to build up too much heat. I know it's on a corner, double braced, so it should be a lot better off than if it was on this, but still want to keep the heat to the minimum. Hold on, dude. Yeah, because I can feel some heat right here. So let's give it time to give it a... Oh, shoot, that didn't work. There we go. You know, I always clean up my, if I accidentally pull the trigger or got too much wire out, I strike it across the ground. And majority of the time, it's usually the ground cable. I can't forget to clean it off, because if I do, and I'll grab a hold of it, usually I'll stick myself with that dang thing. All right, this should be cool enough for right now. Hopefully this works out. It should. It does. Yeah, I'd be curious to know how many people that actually do their own, get repop fenders and panels and things like that, end up having to do something similar to this, whether it's cutting it, bending it, shaping it. I would venture to say it's probably fairly high, but to me, that's the beauty of metal. You can manipulate it. Where's mine? There we go. So what I got here, I should have had it over there, but you know, it is what it is. I usually put Windex on a rag, and then I cool it down with the Windex. I know a lot of people use air compressor. I don't even have an air compressor. That's how poor I am. I ain't got an air compressor. But right now, this has been working. I usually kept like several of these rags soaked with the Windex. It does two things. It cleans it and cools it. But primarily I just need it to cool it. And then there we go. That should be good for right now. Give it another whack. All right. Spray it down again. I remember when I was in high school, I took vocational welding. I took regular welding, advanced welding, or whatever, and then after you've done the beginners, intermediate, advanced, then you could go into vocational. And one of the things that kind of sticks with me is, and I know it really don't matter here, but the rate at which you cool something changes its properties of the metal to maybe make it brittle. So if you was to let it naturally cool itself, you'd have a much stronger weld than if you were to dip it in cold water and uh, immediately cool it. Immediately cooling it in cold water at a rapid rate would make it brittle. We used to do well, I forget what they're called, but they had tests. So you would take a piece of metal, it would be like a V groove, so you could do a root pass, and then keep going over it. You clean it up, go over it, and then you cut it in strips. And one you bent, and just to make sure you bend it to a U. They had a machine bend it to a U just to make sure that it didn't snap at the weld. Then they would do the other one where they do a pull test, and I forget what the third one was. Was it an X-ray or something? I forget, but yeah, I remember X-ray. But you used to mess with your buddies, and you could, if they left their weld alone and walked away from it, you could, and they ground it down before they laid their next pass. You could take a pencil, and they wouldn't see it, and you go over top of the pencil, over top of the weld, and it would show up as porosity and a bad weld. But all right, so we're here. Let me take off this. It might make a little noise. But all right, let me just get out of this outfit real quick. All right, now look at that. That gap is a lot better. It's a lot better. It still can be manipulated a little bit. What I'll do is I'll have to put some more shims in here. I don't have any things in here right now, but more shims, loosen that up a little bit. If I loosen it up, then it will come up and be pretty close to this. But right now, it pulled it in. I've got a clamp down there instead of them bolts, but it pulled it in. So now the gap is where it is supposed to be. The contrast between the gray and the black kind of make it look worse than probably what it is, but and it's not perfect, but it is really, really, really close. So I'm going to go with that for right now, and then it's going to take a little bit more tweaking. Obviously, like I said, I've got shims and stuff I can put in here. Right now, I just stuck a bolt in here, but lowering it down allowed me to cinch that up closer. And if I have to, and this is the reason I didn't weld this piece right here. So when I was welding this, I did not weld this piece right here, because if I want to be able to bend this a little bit, I don't want to have this resistance. So as soon as I get it to where I need it, obviously this fender's coming off probably several more times, but then I'll weld that piece right there. And then here, this will get all tied in. But yeah, and you know, who's to say that this, well, it could be this or this, but it sure could be my door. Might need a little bit of attitude adjustment right there, because everything else is clean, 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 clean. And then right about here to here, it gets tight. Well, that's a decent gap, but right here to here, it gets tight. So it could be the door itself. As I'm looking at it, it might just need a bit, like a spoon and a hammer, and knock it down a little bit. So that's where I'm going to leave that for right now. As I smooth it over a little bit more, I'll get underneath it and find out what I need to do. But I'm trying to get it to where it's as close as, if not perfect, and then perfect for me. Closer is not perfect, so that I can know what shims I need, and that way it can come back off, and obviously the inside can get painted, and then whenever the outside gets painted. But I want to make sure that the inside is coated, stripped down coated, so I don't minimize my rust. But all right. I took it back off, pounded it a little bit, manipulated it, and I've got the gap about where I want it. So the gap looks pretty good. here. Looks pretty good there. So I'm gonna leave it as this for right now. I got everything kind of lining up. Even this managed to line up here. So and I didn't put any shims here, but you can tell that I didn't cinch that down because it's going to need a couple shims. I got a brand new shim pack, but I didn't want to break it out of its pack quite yet. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end this video. I sprayed primer on this fender just because it was getting hard to notice the differences between the black and the gray. It kind of was looking a little bit deceptive or erroneous. So painting them both similar colors made it easier for me to make sure that the gaps were all right. But yeah, so I'm gonna end this video here, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next. It's I may go under the car and start tidying up under there. I got to remove the drive shaft and then clean it up, and then put rust encapsulator on parts that I can get to. I also have some welding to do underneath, because when I put the floor pans in, the seams that drop down onto near the rocker panels, I have the holes punched there. I just never welded it. So I do need to hit that while I'm under there. You know what I'm going to do next, probably? What's in that box? I'm going to do that box next. So for now, though, I'm going to end this video. It was long, but I kind of wrapped a bunch of stuff into it. The door, the fender, the heater box. And it wasn't even all of the heater box, but all right, guys. Thanks for watching.